Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, it's me again. Tell a friend to tell a friend. um, on today's episode of Thinking Out Loud, Staircase Edition. I played too much. Today's Thursday. It's Jupiter Day. Yeah, it's a day full of joy, luck, and just expansion, and just high vibes. It's a signifier towards the weekend. We've gotten over hump day. We've gotten over the stressy part of the week. And now we're starting to wind down into, the greatness that is. Um, and yeah, I'm here for it all. Uh, no, but seriously, Staircase Edition is lit. I'm loving the fact that this has unintentionally become the best space for me to come and think and reflect, not just out of comfort, but also progression. Um, Yay me, yay me. Um, it's been a tumultuous one, but we're here now, right? Um, what was I going to come on about? Love. I mean, it seems like I've been talking about love a lot recently, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What I've been exposed to a lot more is a more practical, less Delulu version, less rose colored version of the meaning of love. So I've been blessed to join several communities, and the most recent one being hosted and nurtured by a man called Dimitri Weil, right? And he calls himself the lost lover boy. He's a Cancer just like me, so it's fitting. And that's another thing. I've been seeing a lot of Cancer related content around me, either the creator themselves or within the season, or it is about the season, but it stems at the end of the day to that emotional base. So what was I about to say? Yes, love. I had a very eye-opening conversation with my earth angel yesterday. We were chatting for about a good 4-5 hours. And I love it when we do that because the revelations that come through, she opens a channel in my mind that I typically, it's not that I don't think of, but I go round and round in circles with myself instead of coming to these truly solid, conclusive answers, because I'm my own worst critic. I can be tougher on myself than anyone else can. Um, it's a survival instinct within itself, right? No one can hurt you, but worse. It can't hurt worse from someone else if you can hurt yourself worse. It's an oxymoron, but it works for what it is, right? Anyway, back to it. I was speaking to her about scenarios of what ifs. Like, I'm entering the 30s club, and right now I'm in the final stretch of my Saturn return. And I think I spoke about this on another live like this, but pretty much your Saturn return is your puberty stage. It's a transformation within itself. We already know that Saturn is a it's the big daddy, the big kahuna. He rules karmic justice. He's about that structure. He's about you know if it works, it will stick type of thing, and it's done with effort. You can't skip. There's no shortcuts here. And that transition for me from the 20s to the 30s club is something Saturn's gonna sit in and be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. You're gonna get new graces, but you're also going to have new limitations. How are you gonna work with it? How are you going to survive this new terrain type of thing? That's the question from Saturn. And it's been making me have to reevaluate how I've seen things, how I've held values. And one of those values is the way not only being in a partnership can change me, but how that also spills out to the rest of my life. the community that I'm in. Something I said that struck me was that the type of man I'm looking for understands the phrase birds of a feather flock together, right? I said, and can trust that I understand that meaning too, aka the females around me, the males around me are all of the same caliber as me. None of them are worse than I am. So if I'm a mother, right, I'm mothering not only to my own child, but children. There is no way in hell that there's going to be any other standard less than that of women around me. They're all going to be mothers too. And that indirectly spills onto my children, where I know that any one of those women were to leave their children with me, they're good because they're still with a mom, right? And vice versa, if I was to leave my child with them and theirs, they're still good. They're still getting that baseline level of, no matter if it's here or there with Auntie Patricia and all of that jazz, they are with their mum. They're going to be cared for by a mother, full stop. There isn't, this is my child and that's your child and, oh, I don't know, right? All these children are benefiting from having a village full of mothers, a village full of nurturers, because that is the feather that I have, right? And it's the same for my man. I say, hey, I want a provider, right? We say this. I want to provide a man who can who's not only financially proficient, but also emotionally, right? But then I also understand that to be that the men around him, but also around me, can't be anything less than that caliber. Yeah, be it as a friend, or the husband of my friend, right? Either way, in some connected way, you need to be a provider, meaning that I'm always surrounded by a provider. My man should not think any, like, and I put it this way, I'm the type of woman that I would actually be embarrassed if my man went out with another female and he made her pay. Because to me, you've labeled, or you're labeled, this is a feather of yours, right? You're a provider. You provide in one form or another. It shouldn't be conditional to the type of woman you do it to, because that woman should be like me, with one of my feathers being a mother, a feminine, right? A divine feminine within herself, a high caliber woman. So you should feel no type of way being a provider, not only me, but anyone within your circle. You provide for everyone around you, and vice versa. The men around you provide for you too. We all give and take. It's all interchangeable. And it's the type of thing where you can't identify as something if it's conditional. If I say I'm the type of person that tells the truth and only about the truth, but it comes to the fact that when it really comes down to it, I only really tell the truth, or I'm only a truthful person when the conditions are A, B, and C. And if they are D, E, and F, I'm going to switch up. I'm going to be a different type of person. Don't get it twisted. Yes, you can have a discernment of how much of yourself you give, right? I might be, again, I tell the truth. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to, if I see a murder, like, obviously, I'm going to make sure I'm safe within my truth. That's a completely different thing. You know how to gauge and discern that shit. But there was never a time that you could ever say, hey, you weren't ever truthful, or this was twisted. Nah. It was still the truth. It was still stated as it was. Be it at 1% or at 100. It was nothing less than that. It wasn't now -5, which is basically gray area of a light. Nah. Because my feathers don't change because it's raining outside. So yeah, for me, I want a man who's able to be around other females and males in comparison of the same valor, because it also means that my children are benefiting from having uncles and dads right? Not just one. So the same way where I can leave my kids with my female friend and she's a mother and she gonna mother my child like hers, it should be the same reflected back in the males around my child too, my husband and his friends, right? He can trust to step away and it ain't gonna become a child molestation case. But in saying that, it also means that I'm trusting that and I know I have this truly authentic person who doesn't change and it's not conditional to the wind. He is that provider at all times for everyone. He's going to be a gentleman, kind to no matter who it is, right? And show that as a badge towards me. Don't get it twisted. I know where my sovereignty, where my uniqueness towards our relationship is. So there's going to be something that's exclusive to mine that I can recognize. But on a baseline, yeah, he'll be the type that it doesn't matter if it's his mother, his sister, or his best friend, he's going to provide for them because he's a provider. But at the same time, he can turn around and look at me and go, "Do you know what, babes? I know you're a high caliber woman, but you see that feather right there? That female, she ain't it. She ain't vibrating at the same high as you. And guess what? I'm gonna be like, is it, babes? I guess we're pruning and we're plucking today because we're gonna keep it tight. Because the type of person I am and the persons I surround myself with, they do affect my children. They do. This is why we have cases of uncles and aunties. It's never all of these horror stories we hear, all of these scars never come from realistically outside of the people we know. There is a connection. The uncle, the best friend, family friend, there is a connection for them to do their bullshit in the first place. And that really struck me when I said, yo, do you know what? Because it's one thing where we think, oh, we want a man that's fine and what he can do for me and how he can do for me and how it will be for me. And, you know, it's all that direction of mine. And that's wonderful to have that, don't get it twisted. But I need a man that values more than just himself because I value more than just me. I want to leave a legacy that will outlive me and outlive me in a place that is not only going to be beneficial to my children, but everyone they touch. Because we have to accept in this reality, we ain't alone and we never will be. I want it to be that when I die and my children have children, they go, oh, I remember your grandmother. She did X, Y, and Z for us. And because of that, we're going to do X, Y, and Z for you. My grace carries on for generations. That's the type of love I need. That's the type of man I'm going to sit with. And the crazy thing, it started with the fact of me sitting here on live and going, hey, what if? Or even, not even just me sitting on live, but just being that exposure. And the type of communities I'm stepping into due to this type of energy, this type of thinking. Again, going back to Dimitri, he was a very big example for me. He is on his quest to find Mrs. Wiley. And I love that for him. I really do. I do. And I like many people who follow him, I really hope he finds that happiness of what it truly needs to be. And that divine planning for him. But then I also had to be my own devil advocate and go, do you know what? What if it's the type of thing he finds her now? Will this support this change in him? Because reality is, some of us can be so delulu in I've got a chance of, I'm going to win, when I win the lottery, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then when we don't win that lottery, we become very nasty. And we be questioning it like we were owed. That I deserve to have won that lottery. Not going to get twisted. I don't mean don't be upset that you didn't get what you wanted. I mean to the point where it's like you now feel entitled. Like that should have been mine. There was no excuse. That entitlement towards it is what is bringing up that disappointment, right? And it's like, okay, cool. He realistically knowingly or unknowingly, when he does find Mrs. Wiley, there will be females in there where their delulu pops, because on a baseline of it, how do I put this? I'll put it this way. I had a conversation with this young gentleman, and he said something that made me have to realize, and this is why this tangent of thought has come, and I was using it for Dimitri, right? He said to me that, hey, he was scrolling on on TikTok, sorry, when he saw my post, and his exact words were, I stopped because of the tattoo. I stopped because of the breast. He stopped because of the chest, right? He tuned in because of the voice. Or shall I say he paused because of the voice. I get told I have a very enticing, a type of voice where you can't help but listen, right? So he paused because of the voice, and then in the end, he realized the knowledge that was being dropped by that voice. But it's like, the reality of that was, yeah, lust was what stopped you first. Curiosity is what kept you. And then, then respect of my mind came third. Enough for you to then contact me and speak this to me. And it's like, okay, cool. Now don't get it twisted. I am not offended. I think it's quite interesting. It's feedback that I needed. I need to also, I like to be in a balance of awareness of not only what I feel I'm putting up, but what is being received. And I'm not an ugly girl. I know. I'm not. I keep saying this. As a woman, I understand that there will always be men who are innately, the first thing is that look, is that allure. It's going to make up a huge percentage of the attention I get anyway, right? And it's the same with when I'm thinking of Mrs. Wiley for Dimitri. He's got a fan base that, yes, they follow him, but he's not a bad looking guy. So what caught their attention first was lust, right? What made them curious and pause was the way he spoke. And what then really got them to start appreciating him as a human being was the knowledge behind it. And even if and I'm not saying he won't, he puts those protective guards there, and Mrs. Wiley understands she's the only one for him because he's choosing her for her, right? That doesn't mean the reality of those women on the opposite side, if they're delulu, if they were thinking they would be Mrs. Wiley, they were going to be the lotto winner. That envy, that entitled pain will be very much real, be very much personal, and it doesn't necessarily have to only be fans. It could be in your inner circle, and it could literally just be a childhood friend who has now decided after years later, well, I've known him the longest, I don't feel like you deserve that title. I feel like I'm in a position to judge who gets that title. If you don't fit my caliber, who I think should be with him, I'm gonna make it difficult. And that doesn't necessarily mean having to be a bitch, because again, our thoughts, they give off an energy and they pull certain things. Now you're fighting invisible enemies and you don't even know why. I was thinking to myself, yo, that's crazy. Would I want that for myself, or would I even want that for my partner? And I had to think of like, you know what, it's not necessarily the delulu people who, and that's probably the wrong way to put it, not delulu, but you know what I mean, those entitled people who came for the breast, who listened to all of this and all they could write was, wow, you're beautiful. I appreciate the compliments. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. But do you understand the conversation I'm trying to have with you? Are you aware? Or are you still too busy trying to decipher what the sign is on my chest? And don't care. You're just here for the entertainment. And then if I was to be like, here's my man's, you now want to throw shade his way. When he actually listened to the knowledge and respected it, and it wasn't just all about the chest like it is for you. No, the pick me energy, right? I said all of these have to really be taken into consideration. And we don't really take that into consideration when we think about what our future union is going to be, especially at the beginning. Especially at the beginning. Imagine that. Okay, I put the situation down. I blow up on social media. I become an Insta star. Da, 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 da. Right? And there's all these men up in my DM. But then I find the one for me. I find my divine counterpart. And he's not as well seen. That's uncomfortable. Okay. He's as seen as me. Ooh. What about the politics of that? Because it's like, okay, he understands keeping that professional boundary and all of that, and it's great and it works, and we've got a rhythm going. Like, we're able to keep our own bit private but still present ourselves to the world in the same authentic way we always have. That's great. But again, that little pot of entitled envy delulu is going to always be there, and it's always going to be something that's going to nig and nag, especially at the beginning of a good thing. And it could potentially affect our connection, because now, unknowingly, we have let outside factors in. And I feel like that's a lot of what already and this is not even on a superstar level, realistically. Even just on a daily level, we let that in. We let the opinions of others, their entitlement on your life, fuck up actually that initial stage so hard in ways that we never fully allow ourselves to be conscious of. How so? In that first stage, we're still figuring out how we slot in together. Meaning, and this was the example I gave myself, right? I have a thing for musicians. I realized that I like creatives just like me. And not necessarily only musicians, artists in general. They could be performers of the arts and theatre and movie, whatever. I just a writer like I am, right? A music producer, it doesn't matter. As long as they're within that field with me, I love that. Because it means that we're gonna have a very vibrant creative home. I'm getting a maverick of a being who thinks very intuitively. So I have a thing for artists, right? Now I go, okay, scenario. He's got a show, he's got a tour, and he has to do meet and greets. And obviously I'm gonna be there to support him because it's my baby, right? Cool. But like I said, the entitled Delulu girls, gonna hug him harder than they need to. They're gonna rub up on him harder than they need to, and out of professionalism, he ain't gonna just shove the female to the ground like, I gotta, it's not it's not gonna be that, but it will. And I admit, as human, it will make me because before she did that, she's very much aware he's a taken man, and still pushed herself on, still took that opportunity, still felt she could, I don't know, do something. Like, oh, he just hasn't met me yet. So when I get to see him, he's gonna change his mind magically, and she's gonna be a thing of the past type. Again, entitled deluluness. Now, again, it makes me feel some type of way, and that's not necessarily his fault. that she decided to be a nuisance. But in relation, it's like, I'm not going to say I'm going to get at him for it, but it will make me have to be on guard in a way that I don't need to, especially when he hasn't caused that guardedness in the first place. And now in the integration stage, we've got more rough patches than we need to, because I'm got it in the back of my mind that's like, damn, there's always going to be somebody I'm going to have to compete with, and he's just going to have to grin and take it, like, ugh, right? Or on the flip, he pushes her away and be like, and now there's having to deal with the backlash of, ooh, that was rough, that was a bit harsh, right? There's always going to be something. I posted it up on my story, and I think the woman said it so immaculately, right? You find somebody and they are 80% everything you needed and wanted and dreamed and all of that. There's this 20%. It's 20% that just, and it could be something as stupid as the way he sleeps, he snores. And you have to consider to yourself, are you going to have a whole last lifetime with this guy that snores like this? And that was when she said it's that 20% is the discernment of preference over want. Let me not let that get over your head. See, that scenario with the whole overtly hugging more than needed to, that fights my preference and my want. Because realistically, he's still 80% of everything I've asked for, I prayed for. And I really do. I can't find it anywhere else. Am I going to really allow the 20%, especially the 20% where it's not always fully in his control, because we live in a very multi-diverse world, to ruin the 80% I have? And that's just in partnerships of, this is my man. Same when it comes to those I expose my children to, those I expose myself to, right? If I can't trust you to be that 80% person for me, how am I going to let you be that for my child? For children, full stop. Nope. If you ain't going to be a high caliber being for me, then sure as hell can't be a high caliber being for my children. And now see, that affects schooling, right? Teachers they're going to be exposed to. Don't get it twisted, it is a beautiful job, and I know it is underserved, like it's not even getting paid the way it deserves. But it's the same with being in the hospital, right? There are truly some doctors and nurses in there that are not there because they want to truly be nurses and doctors. They're there because it's a convenient form of income. They play with your life like that you're their paycheck. That's crazy work. And it's the same with these children's futures. There are teachers who are there not because they want to be teachers, not because they have a passion for educating the future. Now let me say that again. They are not there because they have a passion for educating and nurturing the future. Like the shit we have around us right now was due to a combination of teachers educating children who became scientists, who became inventors, presidents, and prime ministers, right? Educating and nurturing the future. They're not there for that. They're there because they need to pay rent. That's dangerous. You need to start holding a more intentional standard where it's not just good for me in that moment. It's good for me in all moments, in one way or another. Like, again, doesn't have to be perfect, but 80%, I'll take 80% over that 20. And the closer I can get to 100, and that's with my influence in it, right? Because you came with 80, I'm pretty sure There's some way we can tweak in that 20. Now we've got 90. But yeah, by my long-winded way on a Jupiter, and you can see how it's expanding me. I am being expanded in my consciousness of what intentionally is my values and principles and even preferences in the life I say I want to build in a Saturn way, in a very practical and meaningful way. There's no point of me saying I want a village of women who are like me, who are all mothers, and it doesn't matter where that child is, they've always got parents, they've got nurturers around them, they've got guardians who will always look the best and nurture them to be the best in their capacity. And I'm still entertaining dividability women, conditional, behavioral men. Yeah, we're either going to be in it or we're not. That was a bit long-winded for me today, but I'm glad I got that off my chest. I hope it enlightens and helps somebody else like it is me. I'm going to put this up on YouTube. But yeah, I'll probably be on again later with my tiny type. She's really enjoying it. And that's another thing. Watching her step out and say, hey, I want to step into the camera too. It's not about her necessarily, or even me becoming famous, but just the want of being seen authentically within herself. Like I do. I am tired of hiding. And I know my behaviors up until now have been in hide, hermit, don't ever let people see mode. And it's like, I'm going to take up space, I'm going to take up presence the way I'm meant to. And this is one form of doing that. But yeah. Till next time, people. Okay, bye.